Hey, everybody. Welcome to the On Hit podcast. This is going to be our first episode. I'm Matthew,
And I'm Robert.
and today we are going to mostly be doing a little bit of a product review, kind of a deck overview, I guess, but really just kind of a pre talk about this Viserai deck that's coming out. So, the product we're going to be reviewing today is the Viserai Armory Legends deck, or Armory Deck Legends, I believe it's called. This is a convention exclusive product. I believe the only two places to get this were the San Diego Comic Con and the Indianapolis Gen Con. So we're going to get into the hero. We're going to have Robert read this hero for us.
Excellent. Um, this hero is Viserai. He's a Runeblade hero. He has 4 intellect and 40 life, and his text box says, whenever you play a Runeblade card, if you've played another non-attack action card this turn, create a Rune Chant token.
That makes for some really powerful turns. So powerful, in fact, that as this is the Armory Deck Legends Viserai, this is the first vanilla hero actually to reach the Living Legend status.
That's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive. And he debuted, he was one of the original 8 heroes. So his first set was Arcane Rising. He came out alongside Dash, Inventor Extraordinaire, Kano, and he came out alongside Azalea, who actually 3 of those 4 heroes have now reached Living Legend status. So it's one of the more powerful sets that we have. Um, Robert, you are a very big fan of this hero.
Yes, that is
Very, very
very
big fan.
true. Very true. I absolutely
Do you want to
adore.
lead us into a oh, I was going to say, do you want to lead us into a kind of a short talk about him and Runeblade kind of in general?
Sure, sure. So Runeblade is probably my favorite class, all things considered. Um, they have a lot of tools at their disposal, but they also have some serious built-in downsides. Runeblade, as you see on Viserai, has to play a non-attack before it plays attacks or any other cards to get its value, and you'll see that translate to other Runeblades in different ways or in their equipment. Um, Runeblade itself, though, is, like I said, my favorite class for a multitude of reasons. They have tons of disruption, and also while going extremely wide. So similarly to Guardian or maybe Ranger, they'll strip cards out of your hand, but they're also going to do it while hitting you 2 or 3 times. So that can be
And it's really the yeah, and it's really the split damage that's hard to deal with, right? It's really just the fact that they have these singular rune chants that are dealing, 1 point of arcane damage, but it's a stack of them on top of their attacks that usually have go again because you've made the rune chants, and they really have a lot of really interesting combat tricks that you can use as well that kind of go along with really making it difficult to deal with these decks.
absolutely. And the fact that it is split damage opens up even more avenues. In a game like Flesh and Blood, every card is offensive and defensive. So presenting so many options to force your opponent to interact is just super powerful. It also feels really good for the player doing it.
Right. And there's even some times that it's kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't, right? There's some times that like Succumb to Temptation can kind of flash on in and really catch somebody off guard for either choosing to interact not enough or, choosing to just overreact, we could say.
Absolutely.
All right. So do we want to kind of go through the deck list? You, as a Viserai player, I know you have a pretty concrete idea of what you would like to see in a Viserai deck. And I know that, to be frank, although the deck is probably constructed okay, albeit not legally. Um, Outside of that, I would think that the deck itself. I mean, let's talk about the deck. What are your thoughts?
So when I first saw this deck, I was happy and sad at the same time. I was very happy because this looks very similar to the list that I ran before Viserai LL'd. The equipment is very different, but I'll touch on that in a second. As far as the cards in the 60, it's got all the staples like Amplify the Arc Knight, Deadwood Dirge, which ironically is not legal in a 3 piece at least. It's restricted in Living Legends, so this deck is not legal. Not legal. Um,
And I want to ask that just to kind of reiterate that point. So if we pick this product up at, we're going to be going to Gen Con Indy this weekend. So if we were to pick this product up and pull it out of the box and sleeve it up and sit at our local Living Legend Armory event, we would not be able to play this deck.
no, you would have to modify it out of the box.
That's interesting. It's an interesting choice, at least.
Yeah, we'll touch on that I think a little bit more here in a bit, but let me move through these 60 and we'll get to that.
Sure.
Something I want to point out is you'll notice some of these cards have a decent casting cost. So 2 pitch required for that. Amplify the Arc Knight for 3. Um, Rune Flash for 3. But what you'll find is that when you play this deck, you are not going to need any pitch. You will make enough rune chance that all this stuff comes out for free. So this is a sweet list. It has a lot of cool stuff in it, and because it has the addition of Bloodsheath Skeleton, they were able to squeeze in some other cards that don't typically fit in this list, like Arc Knight Ascendancy. This is one of my favorite cards that I never really got to use because it's too cost prohibitive. But having access to Bloodsheath, which reduces the cost of your next attack action and non-attack action based on how many rune chance you have, makes that card super viable now. That's the same deal with Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath. Interestingly
Well, and
enough,
I've seen
though,
a lot of. Go
go
ahead.
ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I'm seeing a lot of really. I'm seeing a lot of really good staples, and I'm seeing a lot of. Again, this is a list that I can see you running or have seen a variation of you playing as well. But outside of the helm, there really are no new cards for this deck, are there?
No, that is absolutely correct. There are literally 0 new cards for this deck, except for the new helmet, Helm of the Arc Knight, which is sweet looking. A little
It
underwhelming
is a
in the
cool
text
looking card.
box. It's very sweet. It's very cool. It'll probably be what, rainbow foil, you think?
I would think so. It's probably going to be a extended art rainbow.
As a collectible, I get it. It's sweet. I like it. It makes me wonder. There's another equipment piece called Grasp of the Arc Knight. I wonder if they will at some point tie those two together or give some payoff for running both. Hopefully. As of right now, though,
Yeah,
kind of an underwhelming card. Not a whole lot.
yeah, and it's really kind of just sitting on a hope and a prayer that that's going to be more useful than a Crown of Providence or even a Balance of Justice or something that's probably a little more competitively tuned, I would
Right,
think.
like a Face Purgatory, even.
Now, I know at some point we'll get into the actual like value of the deck, but as far as reprints, so there's no new cards, which is unfortunate outside of the helm. But did they nail the reprints? Did they get anything really of value? Did they really kind of add to the card pool?
So, as far as reprints go, they didn't add any reprints of real significant value. There are some pretty high dollar Runeblade cards like Swarming Gloomveil, which tends to sit a little over $25, Rattled Bones, which is almost always at 20 or more. They did not include those cards. What they did include is 3 Revel in Runebloods, which I think go for around $4 a piece. So there's a little bit of value, but most of these other cards are going to be 25 cents. You'll get them for $1 because you paid for shipping type of deal. And again, they're
And
good
then
cards. They're
another,
they're all playable cards. Every card in this list I'm a fan of, except for these blues down here. But the value is a little lacking.
okay. I also noticed that there are no Living Legend only cards specifically in here. I'm not sure that I was maybe anticipating like Art of Wars or Tome of Find Elves or anything like that, but not even Plunder Run or there really doesn't seem um, outside of really 2 cards that there are even any LL cards.
Right. Those 2 cards are the first 2 cards on the list. It's Viserai and it's Bloodsheath Skeleton. Everything else, except for the restricted Deadwood Dirge, is a CC card, and Deadwood Dirge is fully legal in CC. So they didn't do anything for the LL format, really. They didn't change anything, and I think they really missed out by not taking this chance to include things like either Duskblade or, for fun, put Rosetta Thorn in here. I mean, I played a couple test games online with Rosetta Thorn in a similar list to this, and it is sweet. Now that he's here, he can use it. But they didn't. They decided not to do that. They didn't really add any incentive to play LL in this deck, in my opinion, which kind of upsets me a little bit because I want to be excited for this product.
Yeah, I mean, and as a Viserai player that played him up and out of CC, like into the Living Legend format, I mean, we really do hope that this product would entice you to want to play that format. And I know in our local meta, we really don't play Living Legend because, well, A, we love a lot of the legal classic heroes, but we just really aren't incentivized to mess around with those heroes because we really don't play the best decks in the Living Legend meta per se.
That's definitely part of it. I wonder if part of it's also that when we started playing, there wasn't an LL format. So when a hero
True.
went to the Living Legend zone, it was a goodbye. It was a sad moment. But then you hold out hope that they will get a revival of some sort. When Chain left, they gave us Vincent, and She definitely took some support and some help to get to a decent place again, but that was kind of what had been previously established, and now that we have the LL format and they're balancing cards and they're banning and restricting cards and printing cards just for the format, which is why I'm surprised we didn't see that here, right? In the expansion slot of Rosetta, we got some cards for Briar. So it's not new to get cards only for this format, but we didn't get any here.
Well, and truly the one actual new card that we got is really only exclusive into these decks, but for so long, right? I mean, I believe that there's been an announcement that the helm will be reprinted in Gem Pack 3.
Hmm.
Um, so it really kind of it hurts the necessity of this product, I think.
Yeah,
And this
I think so
product,
too.
the Armory decks are usually a thing that we kind of celebrate. Um, Throughout the time from KO all the way up to where we are now, the Armory decks, in my opinion, and I believe your opinion, but not to speak for you, are they're excellent products. They are great introductory. If someone comes into their armory and they want to learn how to play and they don't have a deck, they can spend their $40 plus tax and their $10 on sleeves. Please buy sleeves, and they'll sleeve their deck up, and they will probably not do super duper hot, but they'll have a good time, and they will play a good game of Flesh and Blood, and they will learn, and they'll have fun.
You know,
This just does not seem like it falls in line with how good those products usually have been.
well, here's what I'll say. I think this product, even though the reprints aren't high value, I bet this deck holds up against those other decks. Provided it was legal, it would. Um, but I think this could easily tear that Dash IO out of the box. Same thing with it would give a run for the money to KO because this is a good Viserai list. This is a very playable list, and it even has some things that I really really enjoy. Some things that I had done that I thought were more personal touches, like adding red and yellow Malefics, um, the Rune Rager suite. Again, this card, if you did want to buy this and be competitive with it, you could take out the tome and the sigils. You could take out some of these one ofs and slap in Swarming Gloomveils, put 60 or $100 into this deck, and it would be a top tier deck. Now, I don't know if it would carry over in the LL format though, because you have so many other powerhouses fighting there. So that's kind of one of the downsides of not getting any new or meaningful cards, is that well, we already know that these are here, and he LL'd well after all of those other cards due to power concerns, right? So I don't think that this is going to hold up quite as well against Starvo, against Chain, against a teched out Briar, who has Ball Lightning and all these other good things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Um,
And as far as go ahead.
well, I just kind of strayed from the subject of Armory decks, and all I wanted to really say about this was I think this is competitive out of the box. I think out of the box, this would be a fun time. I would really like to play this, but I already know that because I
Um,
already play this.
in my opinion, just from I would say the vicarious Runeblade knowledge I have from watching you play and grow as a Runeblade player for your whole career, um, I think that if this was Armory Deck Viserai and not a Living Legends deck, I think if this product would have been made while Viserai was out, this would have been maybe one of the best Armory decks that they'd put out.
Well, it
If
would
you'd
have been one
remove
of
the
the.
Dusk or the Bloodsheath Skeleton and put in just something that's valuable, it would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been, but it would have been disappointing because there's no new cards in it.
That's right.
So it's like it gave us a box full of
That's right.
reprints from the set that just came out, or a couple sets ago. But still, that would be the one downside. Would it be competitive? 100%. It would play well and it would run out of the box. And honestly, at first I was turned off by the Arc Knight Ascendancy and by the Ninth Blade, the Read the Runes, but Bloodsheath makes all of those things a possibility. So this feels like a good jumping off point if somebody wanted to really figure out how to tech Viserai in LL using some of the new tools. But what's concerning is even on LSS's website, they have the equipment upgrades for this deck at the bottom of the page. And I wonder, why wouldn't you include some of those in this list? Why wouldn't you give
Yeah,
us a grasp?
that was the thing you and I discussed kind of off record, where we had talked about, the possibility of something like a non-foil legendary printing. I mean, this deck, the MSRP of this deck is, I believe, $60. That is the same price as the Arl deck. right? And if we wanted to compare prices of Armory decks, where most of the introductory decks are $40, and then
Hmm.
we expect kind of a more premier product at the $60 mark, but we're really not getting that premier of a product. I mean, like I said, we got a brand new legendary and brand new cards and a brand new hero for $60 out of the box for a CC living legend playable deck. And this, we're getting charged the same price, but with, in my opinion, kind of a disappointing headpiece and just a well-made deck. I
Right.
mean, we're just getting a big box of really nice reprints, is what I think.
Well, I have some other Armory decks pulled up here that we can look at for a second, just to see some of the new cards that were added through these products. And keep in mind that I'll show you the Prism deck first. Um, I don't know much about Prism, but this one is kind of the same deal, right? Where it only got, what is it, a new helmet? Is this helmet the new piece?
I think it's the new helmet, and then I believe one of the new features is there's going to be the alternate version. I think it may be a rainbow foil of the Heart and Cross wraps. I
Yeah, and
think
they
there's
have the
going to be a
art.
different
They
one
have
for
the
each
art
deck.
on here. So I wonder if that means that there will not be a new art for one of these. And to be fair, that could be new art for Cyclist Suede Hides. I don't think it is, but it could be. I wouldn't really know. I was never too hot on
Yeah,
that. But yeah, so Prism kind of got the same treatment. Something you will notice, though, too, is the value of these decks, which we can see by going to the pricing. The value of this without the helm is sitting at $30 with shipping. So you could buy every single in this deck for $30 with shipping, except for the helmet. And the Prism deck, her value is a little bit higher. She's sitting at $60 essentially. So she's sitting right at MSRP, and it looks like that's because there's 3 soul shields in here. Um,
yeah, that's a nice reprint.
yeah,
I would say as well, is her helmet also not loaded into the price?
it is also not loaded in, correct?
So it looks like when you buy the Prism deck, you're at least, if you just wanted the new helmet, you could pull it out and you could sell all of these cards if you had all of the things already, and you could essentially have gotten that helmet for free. You could make your
Yes,
money back on that.
for sure. And that
The
doesn't seem like
Viserai
an
deck, it's
option.
still going to cost you $30.
Absolutely. It's interesting to note, too, that in some of these other Armory decks, there were just tons of new cards. This Dash list got all new equipment, and not all of it's great, but it's all new stuff to play with. It's all new stuff to brew with and to look at other mechanologists and see what they can do with it. Because I also play Vincent. So in my other, a lot of times when these supplemental products come out, I'm looking at not just the hero that is presented, but what other decks these cards can go in. And in her, you got Fast and Furious, which is a great card I added to all my other mech decks. You got Cerebellum Processor, which is a rock star in this list, and in my opinion, caused some problems with their design. But that's neither here nor there.
Right? That's for a different video, I think.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, I do want to point out too that this is a bit of a misnomer because it says that you could buy all of these singles for $4 before they're shipping, but it does not have the pricing for any of the equipment. It does not have the pricing for Fast and Furious. So these values are going to be a little bit. It doesn't have Cerebellum processors either, which is those and the Fast and Furious cards are decently valued, right? Um,
I think when we looked through it earlier, I believe it was something in the realm of you could get all of your processors for about $21, and then you can get all of your Fast and Furious for probably about $18. So, I mean, that's about the price of the deck refunded back to you there when you buy it at the $40 mark.
True, because this one was only $40, and with all those, if you added those in plus the equipment, and I will say some of the equipment is definitely usable, especially these legs, letting you filter through the top of your deck. But, anyways, so some of the values on here aren't going to be true, but we can pretty safely bet that the values you see outside of the Helm of the Arc Knight are going to be what you get because there's nothing new.
Well, and let's pull up the KO deck if we could.
Okay.
Because I know that that one, being the oldest one, that one's that's pretty loaded into TCG Player, and I do want to check out the value on this one.
Yes. So this one, I'll point out some of the higher end cards first. Savage Sash, which is not listed in the prices here.
I
Very,
think we
very
looked at
good
that. That was a
card.
$50 card.
Yes, but Run Roughshods are included in the prices. This is another new card we got out of this deck, and a rock star of a card. Very, very good. So they had already set the bar pretty high for the cards I expect to see in an Armory deck when I'm buying this extra product. Like I'm not buying a box of reprints. I'm buying something new typically. Um, yeah, Run Roughshods sitting at $20 right now, and you said Savage Sash was worth about $50.
I believe so. When we looked at it on TCG Player, I
So
believe it was
that means
about
that
50 bucks.
in single value, you're at $140 or $120 before shipping for $40 purchase.
Yeah.
And this was one of the
Yeah.
first times I remember thinking to myself, like, hey, these Armory decks out of the box are pretty solid.
Well, and it's no secret, you and I, whenever, if we do any sort of very version one rough draft preliminary testing, we usually grab the KO Armory deck on Felt Table and play against it because it is just a good out of the box experience.
Absolutely.
And also with this deck, the reason I wanted to pull this deck up specifically to look at that price is just to kind of hammer home on the Viserai deck that that one new card is just going to be where all of your value is hopefully lying in. Now, the Prism deck does have a legal variant of her hero, so it kind of makes it gives her a little grace in having some consistent pricing. Um, but they didn't release any Runeblade cards that really needed to be shared amongst Vincent or Florian even, or that they were really yearning to try to get their hands on either. So I just don't see this product holding a ton of value. Again, especially because that helmet's going to be reprinted in the gem packs, and I know it's going to be a cool thing to get, and it's a convention exclusive, but it feels like it's exclusive just for the reason of being exclusive. It doesn't necessarily feel like there was a reason for it to be this really celebrated product. And then just to move on from that, we have been kind of harsh on this product, but it comes from a love of the game, and it comes really from a love of this product. And just to kind of put a little bit of a positive spin on it, I would love to kind of just get our thoughts on, and yours specifically, on what kind of things we could add or what could have made this deck a little bit better.
Yeah.
And really, I think the thing that I can lead off with is, again, just some good LL cards. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but give us some cards in the deck that are LL specific, that are Living Legend specific, that kind of pushes us towards wanting to play that format, and not just looking like we have a deck that we hadn't updated after Viserai kind of LL'd.
Right. Well, and updated, I mean, hardly, right? I wonder how similar, I should have
Right.
pulled up, I wonder how similar this is to like the list that pushed him over. I bet it's pretty close.
I bet it is. I bet it's pretty close as well.
And again, it wouldn't have taken much. All I was hoping for was some new cards. And while I would love to be able to use these cards in Bin Set, they've had no problem making Viserai specializations. Hell, there's a Viserai spec Fable.
Yeah.
So they very easily could have, not super powered chain. They could have just given Viserai some toys to play with that would have really encouraged somebody like me to venture into a format I don't usually play. But they really missed the mark with that, I think.
Well, and the specializations are just a great way to really kind of bolster an individual hero without kind of affecting the other class. And
Yep.
Chain is a hero that we've mentioned a couple times in this video, and that's kind of the that's kind of where I would like to what I would like to add. This product to me could have just been Chain. The whole theme of the conventions has been light and shadow. Chain and Prism originally LL'd around the same time together. They're from the same set of Monarch. The Light and Shadow box is, it's OG Luminaris and it's Phantasmal Footsteps, but it's also Reaping Blade, which is not Nebula Blade, and it's Spellbound Creepers. All things that Chain would use. It's not Galaxy Black by any means. It could have been, but I just think that to fit the theme better, this doesn't. It feels like a product that maybe was used when they could because it was meant for a different time slot, or it came out later than they wanted it to, but in my opinion, like I said, this should have just been Chain.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. I mean, it makes sense as far as the storyline goes. It would make sense as far as the timing of everything. And I would have been maybe a little happier if it was a chain product because this is super underwhelming, and I had my hopes up for this product.
Well, and this doesn't necessarily feel like a celebration, and it feels, if I could really kind of try to pull something from your brain, it feels like a bittersweet send off.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely feels like that. And you know, yeah, who knows what could have been if this was a real knockout product, but I don't think it is.
And for the price of it, for the exclusivity of it, I really would have expected more from what is honestly a really, really great hero and a really, really great product line.
Yeah, yeah, the Armory decks. I've always loved the Armory decks that come out. I didn't love when I couldn't get a hold of the Max one, but outside of that, I was always impressed with the products. I always thought there was a nice blend of usable reprints, maybe not high value reprints, but very usable, and a handful of new cards that I could now go brew a bunch of decks with. Because that's one of my loves of the game is testing and playing new decks and coming up with cool stuff.
Well, and the Max thing too is really disappointing because again, that deck was awesome.
Yeah,
We've been on other people's channels talking about the Armory Deck Max, so we won't go into it too much here. But again, in a long line of great products, Max was another product that was great, but just had exclusivity and supply issue.
yeah,
Um, which really kind of leads me to I don't know who this product is for, and I don't know what the point of this specific product is. The Prism deck, I can wrap my head around, and I feel it with the light and shadow. Um, but this just feels kind of ham-fisted.
yeah. I agree. It seems like maybe they had a deadline to hit, get some product to take to the new conventions, and this is what made the cut. And I love Viserai, so there's a
Well,
part of me that hopes maybe somebody out there is new and grabs them up and becomes a Viserai player. Great. I'm happy that that happens, and people will have that experience. But as far as being a Viserai player, being a Runeblade collector, I don't know that I want to pay $60 for an extended art helmet that I probably won't use over my other equipment.
yeah, I think that I think that that's a fair statement. And as harsh as we may be on this product, it comes from a true, again, a love of the game. It comes from a true love of the product. It comes from a true enjoyment of the community and the heroes and of Legend Story Studios themselves, because for the most part, they're pretty much on the ball with how we like to play and how we like to play the game. They make some odd choices here and there, but they're not going to appease everybody. So,
Yeah, we've spent so long talking about this product and going back and forth, and I'm starting to feel like a disappointed parent. Where it's like, I'll forgive you. I'm still interested, but come on, guys. Like, we could
it's
definitely
like
do
I'm
better.
not putting this up on the fridge. This is an
Right.
okay drawing.
Right.
I see what you did. The hair, you didn't give me hair, and that kind of upset me a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just put this one. It's fine.
For
This one's
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that that's all we have for this. This has been. Hopefully, the next time that we get on here, we have a product in front of us that is more inspirational. Seems like it has a little bit more love and care put into it, and not that this product didn't necessarily have love or care put into it, but it just doesn't show.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't feel like somebody who was really into Viserai designed this product.
Yeah, I
But,
agree.
oh
All
well.
right.
Maybe
Well,
on the
guys,
next
thanks so
one.
much for joining us. Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. I've been Matthew.
Yeah, this is Robert, and stay tuned. Hopefully, we'll have some nice cameras set up soon so you guys can see what we look like. We can have a little more face to face interaction, and we'll be making a lot more content. So,
All right, see you guys.
see ya.